Hi, this is Pete Lyons with Let's Play Salesforce, and today we're going to be covering new features for Einstein Analytics in the Winter 19 release. Not to be mistaken with my coverage of new features for Einstein Analytics in the Winter 18 release, it's just that I've really been doing this for over a year now, which is kind of cool. So first thing I want to show you is if we hit the Create Dashboard button from Analytics Studio, the interface has changed ever so slightly. Largely, this is just a reskin. We've got our templates in a nice tiled format, looking pretty good there, nice and sharp, clean. I like it. But what I'm noticing is missing is that we no longer have the ability to create dashboards in the classic designer. It had a good run, but Z-index had to die. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Create button. Next thing I notice is right here, I've got this handy dandy button to watch videos to learn. And I think that they're still getting this part rolling because the videos don't really seem to have anything to do with where the button is located. I think this is largely a placeholder right now. But this is not the only place that we're seeing this. If I create a step, I also have this same option up top here next to the conversational analytics function. So in this case, we're actually going to get community-based content from Jitendra Zha, Salesforce MVP. I don't know, again, if they're going to actually be including community-generated content in these videos. Hint, hint, if you want them, feel free to use mine. But this very well might just be a placeholder. At this point, it seems that they're adding this functionality and they'll worry about which videos to host where, in a subsequent release. And we've also got this on the Sackable editor as well. And again, in this case, it actually takes us to just this nice marketing video. I actually really like the colors on this one too myself. So while we're here on the Sackable editor, nice new feature that we have right here. Never have to remember the API names of your data sets again when building new Sackable queries. If I add a second data set, it's going to name the stream for the data set via API name and slap that on the screen there for me. So nice thing about this, it gets your queries running a little bit faster. Hopefully this is kind of a building block to a more expansive implementation of the Sackable editor. Fingers crossed in a future release for being able to edit bindings in the Sackable editor, but it's certainly not coming this time around. The next update I wanted to share with you has been to date widgets, and if we go to the presets for date widgets, we now see that under calendar month there are some additional options of current month to date as well as previous month to date. Not 100% sure if anything else was added to this list. It does feel kind of longer. Maybe there has been. Not 100% sure. Another thing about the date widget is that we no longer have the ability to toggle on and off update instantly because I don't know about you guys, I always have that checked. If you move a date slider, I would expect the dashboard to update, and if it doesn't as an end user, I'm going to be confused. So glad to see that we don't have that anymore. What we do have instead is now this toggle to show or hide the widget actions. So now I don't have that caret here to confuse me even further because, why would I necessarily as an end user want to see, let's see, the dashboard inspector. This looks very techy to me, and as an end user, it kind of breaks the magic a little bit. As somebody who works on the platform, this is awesome for me because I'm always telling people, hey, look at how date widgets actually output to try and bind into them, and you can actually grab the query really quickly and figure out what you need to bind out of, which, this has been around for a few releases, but for me, I like the show details button, but I do really like that we can now hide it from our users. And on other chart types, such as the bar chart, I'll just show you real quick. The behavior is going to be slightly different in a good way. In addition to having the ability to turn on and off the widget actions, we can separately control whether or not those actions include the explore action in particular. So you do still have the ability to have explore turned on or off, but we can also just get rid of the caret entirely, which is definitely a feature that a lot of people have asked for. So as long as we're talking about dates and times and widgets and things of this nature, if I can ever find my way back to it, there we go. Nope, that's not it. How do I get back there? All right. If If I go to dashboard properties, I now see this grayed out box that says time zone enabled. So apparently dashboards are now going to support time zone. I have no idea how to do it, but it looks like it's going to be a thing. I know this is something that there has been a lot of work going into for the past releases, past couple of releases behind the scenes to lay the foundation for this update to be possible. And it looks like this is going to be the time that we finally get this. So the next thing I noticed was that where we have the dashboard name, we now have a drop down here, and this is showing me a list of other dashboards that I can go to, but I believe that this is only going to be dashboards within the same app. That would be my assumption, but I'm lazy and all of my app dashboards in this org are in the same app. So I'm not 100% sure, but that would be my guess. We also have a highly asked for feature in the form of enhancements to presentation mode. So now hover functionality does work in presentation. We didn't have this for a very long time. One thing that I am noticing is that there is a subtle bug where if I hit escape to exit, I lose my header. But if I want it, so I can't get back to Analytics Studio right now. This drop down does still work, but even if I navigate to a different dashboard, I still don't have my header. Maybe that's a good thing for you if you like having a little bit of extra real estate while you work. But if that does happen to you, you can either reload your tab or go back to presentation mode, and the X in the top right does appear to restore normal functionality. Next, we're going to move on and cover new features in the back end of things. So if I go to my data manager, first thing that I notice is up at the top here, my number of data flows in a 24-hour period has increased yet again. The cap has now gone up to 50. And I believe that the screen showing data sets, I think these bars are ever so slightly narrower, but I couldn't really get it to line up just right to be able to tell. Not really a big deal, but just, hey, maybe that's the thing. So under data flows and recipes, if I go to edit an existing data set, I see that the layout has changed. The three buttons that used to be at the bottom have been moved up to the top. This is not net new functionality, it is a net new positioning. We also now have buttons for creating recipes and exploring directly from the dataset edit page, which is pretty handy. Hey, I'm looking at a data set. There's a good chance I either want to, create a recipe or explore it. I mean, I can see why you would want to do these things. Under configure actions, nope, we don't actually have anything new here, but we do have another example of the word wave. So glad to see that. I'd like to see more of that actually. But let's take a look at the recipe editor, and I'm just gonna put something in here. Make a winter 19 recipe. I'm not a big recipe guy, so there are definitely some differences here, but it's very likely that there's something jumping out, right at me that is different that I haven't seen. But one thing, the color's different on the icon. We've switched to a blue theme. We now see at the top a summary of how many rows are null and or populated. Most of these buttons up at the top right here seem to be in the same position. These drop-down options for the different transformations that we can perform have been cleaned up a little bit. It's not a change in functionality. It's largely a change in aesthetics. Not 100% sure if this was new between a small sample and a large sample, but I kind of feel like that was different. So mostly a reskin. We've got some additional functionality to toggle between the preview and the list of columns, and we have all the same transformation options. So this is really more if you wanted to get more of your columns on one screen instead of it's like, okay, well, I already know what's in my data. I just need to be able to traverse this extremely wide table quickly. So now I can have it in a vertical format. That's actually well, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know if I want to call that not new functionality because it's not something you couldn't do before, but I gotta say it's pretty cool that you can actually sort it in this fashion and get to stuff quickly. So that's about all I was really seeing differently with the recipe editor. But again, I'm not a big recipes guy, so take a swing at it, see if you can find something that's different that I didn't notice. So that's all I have for tonight. There's got to be a ton of stuff that I just totally didn't find yet. And without the release notes, it's pretty much just hunt and pack and try to find what you can. Probably should have said this at the beginning, but safe harbor. I'm not doing this on behalf of Salesforce or my employer, and this is commentary, not documentation. Please make purchasing decisions based on currently available technologies. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, and as always, thanks for watching.